It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Welcome to the Brouhaha, everybody. Big week this week, coming off of Memorial Day. Dale and I are going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. But how was your weekend, Dale? Are you busy and going around and having a good time and eating good and all that kind of stuff?
Hey, I'm trying to.
Well, you know, you're looking pretty good. You've been on a pretty good exercise regime here the last couple of years.
I don't know about that. I just, as Willie says, I try to stay home.
But okay, try to stay home. But you know, there was another song, Mac Davis. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way.
Well, yeah, Willie sings it too.
And then, yeah. I see a pattern here between you and Willie.
Yeah.
Are you a Willie Nelson kind of guy?
Well, Willie said some good things. You know, there's some I scratch my head about.
Dale, you know, we're coming off of we got an interesting show. Well, we think it's going to be an interesting show. We'll see how that works. But in our opening segment here, this is a big deal in our country as we remember. You know, it's Memorial Day.
Yes. And
tell us a little bit about Memorial Day. I mean, you know, I know this. I looked this up and I'd forgotten this. I probably learned it sometime. It was originally called Decoration Day, from the early tradition of decorating graves with flowers and wreaths and flags. Memorial Day is a day for remembrance of those who have died in service to our country. I may be stealing your thunder there, Dale.
No.
But, you know, we've just come off of a weekend of doing that. I've got another piece of information here. Anything you want to say about Memorial Day? I mean, you know, this is a big deal.
Well, you know, I just think of all the soldiers that have never been able to come home. Mm-hmm. You know, and some of them still haven't come home.
Yeah.
You know, just don't know what happened to them or anything like that. And I really grieve for those families, you know, because, you know, I grew up in a military family, and I never got to experience it firsthand, but, you know, I had some people that I knew did.
Yeah.
You know, especially during the Vietnam era.
Yeah.
You know. So it was just sad.
Yeah, my dad is my favorite veteran, of course. He flew over the South Pacific in World War II. But I grew up down the street as a next-door neighbor to a guy here that a lot of people remember, Dana Bailey. Mm-hmm. And Dana was a local football hero, man. He could really go. And, you know, little guy, but could fly, tough as a light or not. He went to Vietnam and came back, you know, and spent the rest of his life in a wheelchair. But he served his country, continued through the Veterans Administration here locally. And I always looked up to him. It always makes me want to cry just thinking about him. Man, there's so many just like him.
Yes, I knew Dana. He was a pleasant fellow to be around, especially with his handicap.
He never let it bother me. He hunted and fished and went on just like it was just, you know, just a great model in a lot of ways. Miss old Dana, but we do remember, and we just wanted to. I just thought it would be fitting for us to just reflect back on the, you know, yesterday and the events of the past week before. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
All right.
For honoring the veterans.
Yes, sir. We're going to try something a little different here tonight. I don't know how it's going to all shake out, but we've got a mystery panel coming on board. See what happens when you let me when you let me come up with a guest. I come up with a bunch of them here. We're going to do it. It's going to be it's going to be a free for all. It's going to be a real brouhaha. We don't know what's going to happen. Should be fun.
Okay.
Speechless. You're speechless. Boy, that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Dale and I are going to take a break to hear from some of our sponsors, and we're going to come back with our guest panel tonight, and we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to be flying by the seat of our pants, but let's have a good time. Let's hear from a sponsor, and then Dale and I will be back, and our guest, and whoever we can manage to throw in the pile here tonight, and we'll have some fun. So we'll see you right after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. Going to take a little different trick here tonight with the Brouhaha. We have an expert panel joining us tonight, and we're going to see if you can recognize these folks, and we ask you to follow us on YouTube and on Facebook at the Brouhaha. After listening to our show tonight, tune in there on our Facebook page and see if you can identify the guest, our guest tonight. And if you can get them the first one to get them right, we might give you a $20 bill. Ooh. Might give you a $20 bill, but anyway, Dale is out of pocket tonight. I'm sure he's listening in. We appreciate him and hope he has a safe trip. But let's talk a little sports, guys. Anybody got any ideas, anything about sports that we could talk about? This is a sports show, so I've gathered some sports to talk about sports. We got 3 good ones.
Yeah.
Anybody, anything on their mind about what's going on in the sports world today? If you don't, I got something.
Well, let's go with you.
You know what? This NIL deal and this thing, all this stuff just gets better and better and better. We've seen the fights with Nick and Jimbo, Lane Kiffin signing in. Well, it's gone to a whole nother level now, because if I'm reading the reports correctly, there's a 12-year-old golfer that signed an NIL deal. Are y'all aware of that?
I'm not aware of that.
Well, it's a fact, Jack. A 12-year-old golfer has signed himself. His name is Xavier Perez, and he's obviously pretty good. But now, where does NIL start and stop? What in the world is going on?
Well, my question is how it relates to collegiate golf. Charlie knows more about this than I do, but...
Well, you just gave one. you got one. I said we might give you a $20 bill. We might, but we might not.
We might not. But mystery commentator number 2 may know more about this than I do. But the route to professional golf, does it always go through the college rankings?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
They can come right out of high school if you're good enough.
Guess number 3.
Guess number 3.
We got a golf coach in here.
We do.
And somebody he's played against the last, 4 or 5 years ago. He was right in the running this weekend. He's right out of, I reckon he went to Alabama for a couple of years. I don't know how many years he went.
Kid from Hattiesburg.
Austin,
Riley Davis or Davis Riley?
Davis Riley.
There we go.
He was in contention this weekend. So.
Okay.
I reckon you can come out of high school if you're good enough.
Okay. Well, I was just asking because, like I said, I guess what the NIL boils down to me is taking away from collegiate sports and turning it into professional sports.
Yeah, I think that's Lane Kiffin's problem.
Okay.
It's one of the ones that he talks about over and over again. And even Deion Sanders said, you can't give these children money.
No.
I mean, because they're not going to know how to act.
Well, kind of what I thought was once you pay them, they're not, they are professionals, once
by
you start
definition,
paying.
yeah, historically.
He's 12 years old. Just think about when you were 12 years old. What would you know on $1 million? I mean,
Think
about all the ice cream you could buy with all that NIL money.
Yeah, I'd have took it for sure.
I don't know. I don't think anybody saw the high school level coming. I mean, it's here. This guy's not even in high school. He's a maybe the first year of junior high school, but where is it going to end?
To me, that's I'm not good with offering 7th and 8th graders scholarships, football scholarships. I mean, the kids in 7th, 8th grade, they got more to think about and stuff like this, I think,
Yeah, but those guys offering those scholarships don't.
I know. I understand their part, but 7th and 8th grade, how do you deal with something like that?
You'd have to make it, against the rules, I think, to stop it. But, to say for somebody like Nick Saban or if they want to get in the hunt, they want to find the best players out there. If they don't offer them early, somebody is. And how many times do you see these kids say, well, these were the first people to get on me, so I'm going to stay with them. It's kind of like the situation provides that you have to. It's kind of like this NIL deal. If you're not going to step up and make NIL provisions for your players, you're going to get left behind.
I'll agree.
Yeah.
Well, like he's talking about, if they're good at 12 years old, they'd be good at 16 if it was against the rules until they're 16 or 17.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I see his point. It's valid. They need to be kids for a while.
Yeah.
And if they're good then, they'll be good later. And nobody else can offer them if it's against the rules.
I'm available for an NIL deal, by the way. Anybody, Marshall Wood, if anybody got anything you want, just let me know. I'm open. What about you? What were you going to say?
I'm wide open. Well, I'm assuming the kid of that age, I'm sure his parents have a lot of say-so in that, signing all the dotted lines and everything. I don't know what kind of money we're talking, but...
Well, that's a good point, and if you can correct me if I'm wrong, we got legalese experts around here. You don't reach the age of majority until you're 18, which says if you're a minor, you cannot enter into a binding contract. So that's a great point. I haven't seen anything written about that yet, because that kid could walk away from that any time. Of course, I'm sure they traded him for a better one.
Yeah.
Hey, I like this guy better. There's more bubble gum over here.
There we go.
Oh man. Well, how far we talk about NIL now? How far it's the SEC? They're the big dogs in sports, and particularly football. And the commissioner Sankey, he's had to get involved and calm Jimbo and Nick down. And he's put a gag. I don't know, maybe a gag order. He's told Lane Kiffin to be quiet. Of course, a lot of people tell Lane to be quiet. That's your boy. Is there guest number 2?
By the way, they're all together this week in Destin, Florida. So maybe they'll have a nice little round.
What's going on in Destin this week?
Tell us what's happening in Destin.
SEC meeting this week in Destin, and all the coaches and athletic directors, and I reckon everybody else is there this week. They had no fights so far. I haven't seen any.
I was going to say, that sounds like a setting for a real brouhaha in itself.
Yes, it does.
I understand Nick and Jimbo are on the opposite end of the room, so.
They didn't have them sitting together.
No, thanks.
Okay, you guys sit together and play nice. But did I understand that none of this stuff that they're doing over there now is not? These are closed meetings, are they not?
Yes.
What do you know what the topics that they're dealing with here? Are we guessing at what topics?
One thing is future scheduling with Oklahoma and Texas coming in 2025. They're going to try to hash that out, and how many conference games you're going to play, how many non-conference games you're going to have. It's going to be maybe no divisions anymore. I've read that. So I
have read that too. Now let's look at the SEC. That's going to be what was how many teams is it with the new ones?
It'll be 16.
16. You got the East and the West, and it and I've always had a problem. The way with the way it configures geographically, historically here with Alabama and Auburn in the West. And you geographically, you would think they should be in the East, particularly when you add Texas and you add Oklahoma to the mix. They're naturally born geographically for the West, but that's not going to happen. You reckon?
Probably
under any scenario.
It's according to what Nick says.
Well, I don't know. So that's an interesting point. Do we even have divisions anymore? Because you can't play too many. You get to where we have to play too many games.
Well, they're talking about 9 conference games, going to 9 conference games, and having, I reckon, I'll leave you 3 non-conference games. And people like Ole Miss, Mississippi State, those 4 guaranteed wins, you may lose one of that. More than likely you get 4 wins because you schedule 4 teams you think you can beat.
Yeah, you schedule 4 that. They need those. That's right.
Yeah.
But I think Nick's wanting to go to 9. So we'll see.
We'll see how much clout he's got. You reckon he's got any?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, we've talked about the NIL. It's got started with Xavier Perez. Any other NIL issues we want to talk about before we move on to something else? Obviously not. Here's one. Best golfer in history. Best golfer. Now, and our golf coach here, we got a real coach, and we're going to, you let us go first about this golf because you come in, you're just going to destroy everything, when you come in with your information on golf. But I know there's some differences of opinion here about who the best golfer in history is. Anybody got any ideas? I've got a list here somewhere about what the internet says about the best golfer in history. I'm going to tell you who they got at number 10, Gary Player. Now, some of our younger members probably never had the honor of seeing Gary Player play.
Have not.
I'm sure you didn't see Tom Watson, Byron Nelson, or Arnold Palmer, Sam Snead, or Bobby Jones, or Walter Hagen play, Ben Hogan. Those are names, and how old are you? You in your 30s?
33.
And you've never heard of any of those guys?
I've heard of them, but I'm not familiar with any of their career or really their achievements even.
Yeah.
I know they're obviously very decorated players.
Yeah. Who do you think, number 2, who do you think is the best golfer? I know you answered this because we've had discussions this morning. Who do you think is the best golfer in history?
Well, if you go by most victories, it has to be Tiger or somebody nobody ever thinks about is Sam Snead. They're tied at 82.
82
Jack
victories.
has like 73, I think, and But he has more majors.
That's right. He's got
So,
more majors. He
you
got
know-
18 majors wins, and the guy that I like, Tiger Woods, has only got 15 majors.
So who do you say is the best? Who won the most tournaments or who won the most majors? I don't know.
There's an interesting component to this too. That's really is the time element here. You got athletes from different decades. You got Nicholas. When was he in his heyday? When was his best golf being played?
I reckon he started in the 60s and played in the 70s. Of course, he won the Masters in 1986 when he's almost 50 years old.
Yeah.
46 years old.
Great golfer. And you come along and you get a guy now, we'd call him, I don't know, the athletes are bigger, stronger, faster. Tiger Woods, go. You got something?
Where the fields is large, the competitions in the majors, where there's a bigger group of golfers playing back then. Do you know? I was kind of curious. The game has grown so much, as all games have, I guess, over the years. And I was just kind of curious. The playing field, the size of the competition.
I don't know what the playing field was. I really
You know,
don't.
back then, that's something I'd be interested in. I would assume it would be a lot larger now.
You know the equipment's better.
Yeah.
There's a good point. The technology is so much better than the equipment. And are athletes better today than they were? So, for example, just use them, because I think most of us would have Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus at the top. Who's the best athlete?
Golf athlete?
No, best athlete, period.
ever.
I mean, between those two guys, who's a better athlete between Nicklaus and Tiger?
Well, I certainly think Tiger was.
If the athlete is bigger, stronger, faster, I'd have to go with Tiger as well.
You know, so could they? Do you think if those two played in their prime, be it back in Nicklaus' time, if you took Tiger back to Nicklaus' heyday or Nicklaus to Tiger's heyday, which one would win?
We're going to play with old equipment or new equipment?
I finna say you're gonna go back to wooden clubs and Tiger plays.
We're going to play with the equipment
Being equal.
of being equal. The same equipment. They both play with the same equipment.
Well, I certainly think Tiger's probably more athletic, no doubt about that. But would he beat him? I don't know. Over a time period, I don't know.
Yeah.
How far did he drive the golf ball, Nicklaus, in the day? I mean, I guess they didn't really keep up with those statistics as much as they do now.
It's not as far as today,
the
I'm
clubs
sure.
are much different. So I was just kind of curious. Do the courses play as long? I don't know.
Well, the equipment made them
Extend the course, yeah.
You know,
That makes sense.
We got to put another 50 yards on this hole.
well, I mean, at Augusta they lengthened the golf course because of equipment. So
I'm not a very good golfer. Of course, I know y'all didn't know that.
I'm starting a petition to shorten all the courses for my game.
talking about athletes, let me throw this in there.
Come on with it.
Wayne might have saw this other night. I just happened to turn TV on. There's Coca-Cola 600. They interviewed Richard Petty was up there, and he was talking about. He said these race car drivers are some kind of athletic. And I thought, driving a race car? But then you think you're sitting in the car driving 4 or 5 hours at 150 miles an hour. And he talked about how they worked out. All the race car drivers work out now. I had no idea.
I didn't think about it. But, they probably don't have air conditioners in those things, do they?
Probably not.
So tense the whole time, all
man.
braced up. Your mind going all over the place, I'm sure.
For 4 hours at 150 or maybe 200 miles an hour. Man, you got to be paying a lot of attention.
And how long does, say, the Daytona 5, how long does it last? You've got some racing experience over there. Guest speaker number one, we'll say. 2 and 3 have already made some.
Them long races go on 4 or 5 hours. That's a long time.
If I'm not
Stay
mistaken-
focused at 195 miles an hour,
Well-
side by side by inches for hours.
That's what
why
I'm
you see
getting
race.
at.
The Coca-Cola 600, I think, was 600 miles.
That's a long way.
Yeah.
Of course, you're running, 200 miles?
400 laps.
Still.
But, you think about adrenaline. And, I'm sure when you fire those engines up and they wave that flag, buddy, and they take off, I know the adrenaline. But you're looking at a 5 or 6 hour adrenaline rush. Can you imagine how exhausted you would be
man.
at the end of that thing?
No wonder they drink all them energy drinks.
Oh, I'm going to give a countdown here. I'm going to back up a little bit and close out this poll that we had here about the all-time leading golfer, best golfers. The consensus on the internet, Bleacher Report, Nicklaus is 1, Woods is 2, Hogan is 3. I've knocked, let's see, Walter Hagen is 4, Bobby Jones is 5. Y'all heard of the Jones Bobby Jones golf trails. Arnold Palmer. My daddy loved Arnold Palmer. He was a member of Arnold's Army. Byron Nelson was 8. Tom Watson and Gary Player was number 10.
Now there you name 10 guys, and the guy that has tied for the most victories on tour is not even mentioned.
Yep.
Sam Snead with 82.
Well, I missed him because they got him at 6.
Okay.
My bad.
Okay.
I couldn't follow my notes.
Okay.
But I'm glad you pointed that out because we want Sam. We want old Super Sam to be noticed. We love Sam Snead. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. How's everybody doing? I mean, is this like the race of the Daytona 500? Is the adrenaline? Are we running out of gas? Or we need to take a pit stop or
Let's have
something?
some more.
This is what I've been training for. It's fun.
All righty. Let's have a gander here. And let's see. Who would you say? Let's go to the best pro basketball player ever. The best professional basketball player ever. Now, I think, to me, this is a no-brainer. But now, there's people on the other side of the fence. Now, I got a list here that comes under the heading. Guess, best pro basketball player ever. I know my number one.
Well, I know number one he's going to say already.
Would you agree?
Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, so who's he going to say?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
That's who I'd
That's
say.
who he grew up, see? And I did too a little bit.
First game I ever remember watching coming up was the finals with the Jazz. You know, around the time it might have been the flu game where he came out there. Remember, was sick, had to take the drip and all, and came out there and won the game. That's my first memory of watching.
that was
him.
a
I
good
think
one.
he's the best that's ever played the game because he could do any of it. He wasn't a one-dimensional player.
Yeah.
He's a great passer, a great shooter, obviously, great rebounder, great inside guy. He could do it all.
Was he competitive?
Heck yeah. He's very competitive. He was competitive when he wasn't even on the court. Because he didn't want to get beat at nothing.
That's right. What now? You predicted the Michael Jordan thing, but now who you got? You going back in
Let me
time?
get-
See, yeah, I don't watch as much like number whatever he is. Over there. Michael was good when I was watching a little basketball. I don't watch it much, so I go back to old timers. Lou Alcindor, Bill Walton, Magic Johnson. You know, I don't know. Michael Jordan may have been the best, and you know, I don't know.
I'm the same way. Lots of people are going to say Kobe Bryant. I didn't watch Kobe Bryant play much basketball. LeBron James, I haven't watched, but I mean, those are obviously legitimate candidates for the position.
The guys I've watched more. I've watched Michael Jordan a lot. I've watched Magic Johnson and Larry Bird a lot. So those are guys that I relate to. I mean, to me, Larry Bird, man, I mean, he was the stuff. I mean, he really was. But he and Michael's, not Michael, him and Magic's competition, they were the timing. They played in the championship game in the Final Four, and then they made their way to the Celtics and the Lakers. Classic matchup in history.
That's back when basketball was great. But today ain't nothing compared to that.
You're an old school guy.
I am.
Yeah, I knew that about you.
I like the guys that won championships. That's what to me that mattered the most, winning a championship. And of course, Michael won a bunch of championships too. Probably
Coming and going. I guess he retired, came back.
Yeah.
One of them.
What did he win? 6?
Or more. I don't
6
know.
or 7. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Here's their list that I got: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and it's funny that when I got this list, there was some extraneous information added on 2 players. One of them was Michael Jordan, that had most points per game, most finals. Didn't have anything by LeBron James' name at number 2. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had the most MVP awards. Then comes Magic, Kobe, Shaquille O'Neal. That's one that we've missed. And, Shaquille O'Neal, it don't matter whether it was 1900, 1950, 2025, 3,000. Shaquille O'Neal's going to be up there somewhere just out of size.
Everybody knows Shaq.
He's a monster.
Oh, man. Then Larry Bird, and here's, I'd say Shaquille O'Neal 1.0, Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
How many points? We were talking in here one day.
He scored 100 in one game
100 points in one game.
when he was in college.
Yeah.
100.
Bill Russell and Tim Duncan. I had an opportunity to see Tim Duncan play one time. That was quite an event.
Pistol Pete wasn't on the list nowhere.
It was not on this list. But now I'll tell you this: He is on the college basketball player. I got a best college basketball players ever list. And the top of that list, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And it's funny, then the same guys don't have, Jordan Watson didn't have the impact in his college as he did in the professional.
No, he did not.
So they got Abdul-Jabbar number 1. They've got Oscar Robertson, the number 2. Bill Walton. There's 2 UCLA guys in the top 3, 2 out of the top 3. Bill Russell, Pete Maravich. Now he was number 5.
He's probably one of the best, just straight out shooters I've ever seen.
Could you imagine in the 70s that had the 3-point goal?
That's right.
How many points he would average a game?
Oh.
He averaged 40-something points per game for 3 years, and he didn't have a 3-point shot.
And I'd say a high percentage of his shots would have been a 3-pointer.
Oh yeah.
So his numbers would have been phenomenal.
Man, he was fun to watch. You never got to see him play.
I saw film of him. Now I wasn't around either.
Yeah.
But he was impressive.
All these young guys.
I know.
Where are these young guys coming from? Golly. All righty. We got the Gofford. We got the bad. Here's one that a little topic that might get some interest. If there should be one. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Dale and I talked about this at one time, but I want to talk about this a little bit more when we come back. The college, all-time, the top-ranked college football programs in history. Who do you suppose is number 1 on this list right here? I mean, I can go ahead and tell you it's Ohio State. Now, down here in the South, we always holler Alabama, Alabama. I'm big on Alabama. They come in at number 2 on the list. But they've claimed, I like when they say claimed national championships. Now, everybody hates on Alabama because they've claimed a bunch of them that weren't one on the field. Well, Ohio State, they all do it. Ohio State has claimed national championships 1942, 54, 57, 61, 68, 70, 02, 14. Their winning percentage overall is 73%. That's a number that I look at. Bama comes in, well, listen to this. Ohio State's winning percentage is 7.73150. Alabama's is 0.73103. That's pretty tight, isn't it? That's number 1 and number 2. Comments?
I mean, that'd be hard to argue with.
Here's one. And I know for our younger audience, and this is something, they got Notre Dame in 3. And to me, as an old guy, I look at Notre Dame and I have to put them in the top. Younger generation guys don't fool with that much.
Well, we've seen them get there a few times to the big dance, but just can't close the deal.
Yeah.
And their schedule, they don't play in a conference. I guess they did this year. They competed in the ACC this year, which was the first time they've ever done that. Correct?
It is, and they did well.
They did,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but they seem to march through a couple of tough games the rest of their season and get there and just can't close the deal. So, I mean, with the younger generation of viewers, I guess the respect all the way around is just not really there.
Yeah. One thing that's always amazed me about them, and you and I have had this discussion before, is Notre Dame. Man, it's like the old song, "I was country when country wasn't cool." Man, they've had their own broadcast relationship with NBC for decades. How long has that been going on there? Do you remember that there?
Well, I'll tell you this, and you know this. I remember this from, we're going to tell how old we are now, but in the maybe 60s or 70s, on Sunday morning, you had the Notre Dame football playback.
You sure did.
Man.
All over the
whole
country.
Game. Everybody got to see it on Sunday morning, so that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
We didn't have all the games on TV like you do today.
It would make an impact with you, obviously, because that's a game.
That's all we got.
That's right. That's somebody you're going to get to see every week.
That's right. They, by record, they have a .729 winning record in history. So that's pretty good. Michigan comes in at 4th. The Oklahoma Sooners at 5th. Texas, Southern Cal. While we're here at Southern Cal, I'm going to go ahead and say, I think as we move forward, if they can get this, regardless of what they do with NIL, but particularly if they leave it alone, Southern California could be the next dynasty in college football. Does anybody agree or disagree with that?
I could agree with that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, if there's one that you had to pick, who's the upcoming dynasty? Saban's getting old. I'm an Alabama fan. Things come and things that go. But it looks to me like with Lincoln Riley, with the money, this NIL deal started in California. They made it a law out there, and everybody else had to follow along. I think Southern Cal is going to be a problem in the years to come.
Well, Texas A&M has got the money.
Well,
Now, whether they got the coach, I don't know, but they got the money.
we're gonna find out what's more important, money or coaching.
Yeah.
According to Nick, they got plenty of money.
Well, we knew that.
And the
They got
newspapers.
all business.
You know, and you know what? We're out of time.
Already?
Doesn't time fly when you're having fun?
Yeah.
Folks, I tell you what, I want to thank, and you guys remember, I think we disclosed a couple of names, but hit us up on Facebook at the Brouhaha and see if you can guess our 1, 2, 3 guest speakers tonight. But for now, the Brouhaha time for this evening is come and gone. We appreciate our guest panel this evening and trust that all you folks out there in Brouhaha land enjoyed this time this evening. Remember that you can follow us on Facebook and YouTube at the Brouhaha, and tune in next week, same Brouhaha time, same Brouhaha channel. But for now, does everyone here know what time it is? I'm going to tell you. It's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye,
Dale. That's a wrap. Jamie, take us out of here.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.